Hey tubes, Redneck Brian here again. Okay, as you can see, I just cleaned up a little bit in the shop here. I got the generator outside for now. And I'm going to do some work on this engine. Yeah, finally going to do some work on this supposed twin. I'm actually going to attempt to do the valves on this engine. I'm going to do both sides. I know the one side was actually okay, and the other side was dead. But it's been sitting here for so long, I don't remember which side was good, which side was bad. So this is, I believe it's an 18.5. This is the stock engine from the off-road tractor. And if you remember, when this was pulled, the bolts snapped off right here, and I've redneck fixed them, but the other two are okay. Overall, this is actually a fairly good motor. I do have a new starter for it. I got a new coil for it. I believe the starter's still on it. Yeah, starter's still on it. Starter's okay. The starter that's on it is okay, but I do got a new one for it if I need to put it on. All the bolts are still sitting in it, except for the I cannot find a set of motor mounting bolts. I believe there's two in here, but I gotta find another set because the one that's on that tractor, they're way too long. So yeah, this thing's been sitting for quite a while. As you can see, there's some oil that's been leaking out of that cylinder there because this motor still has oil in it. It's still had full oil in it. So I'm hoping I can get this motor cleaned up and possibly today get it put in. No guarantees on getting it put in today. I'd like to get the valves done on it today, but no guarantees on actually getting it put in today. Or if I get it put in, I won't be able to get it running today. So I'd like to at least get this put in, just leave the intake and exhaust off of it, and just get it put in the tractor. It's not going to take me too long to get the other motor pulled, about 15 minutes at the most, to get the other motor pulled out. And once the valves are done, the valves should only take me about 20 minutes per side. Just got to release the springs. Basically, got to turn it so you got loose. The springs are loose, and release them, and try and grind the valves. Hopefully, the lifters don't fall down into the block. They shouldn't, but that's why I do one side at a time. Release one side, do it, and then release the other side and do it. I got all my valve grinding stuff in here: the tool, the valve spring remover, and the compound. So anyways, wish me luck on this, and stay tuned. Okay, here's the 18.5. The valves are done. I only had to do one cylinder. I started off with this cylinder right here, which is the right hand cylinder when you're sitting on the tractor. I did it first because it was the one that was at the top, so I pulled it apart and I did the valves. I was able to do the exhaust one the most. It needed it the most. The intake was actually pretty good, so it was more the exhaust valve, and it's currently sitting at approximately 90 pounds of pressure. So that's with it up like this as well. And so this side is good. The other one, I tested it and it was actually at 120. So I didn't bother doing the other side because if I did it, it might be less. So why bother with it? It's already good. And then actually I retested this side right here. Sorry, it first came up 60 and then it came up 90 because I retightened all the bolts, and then it came up 90 for the final. And just by cranking it over here on its side, obviously this motor is not designed to sit on its side like this, but it's kicking pretty hard, so I'm going to demonstrate it for you. I do have both plugs in the motor, and they are connected, but obviously there's no fuel, there's nothing. As you can see, it's kicking pretty hard, so... And if you have your hand on here holding it, it has some pretty good kick to it. And with the plugs out, you can feel the compression. The compression's pretty good. So I'm hoping it'll be okay. What I'm going to do is, believe there's some oil in this engine. I'm going to end up draining it out because who knows what's in the oil. This motor's been sitting around over a year. Or not over a year, my mistake. Almost a year now. because I got the other motor that's in the Racer, because this is the engine that came out of the Racer off-road tractor, and I got that engine. It was near the middle to end of winter, so I remember there was still snow on the ground when I got that engine, because it was freezing cold out there, and I was trying to get it started, and it would not start. It kept on backfiring and stuff like that. So anyways, this motor should be okay now. Here's actually the old head gasket. A few bad spots on it. This is actually not that old. I don't remember. Can't remember if this is an old one or if this was a replacement one. But I do got one more right there for the left cylinder. So anyways, it should be okay, but I don't plan on using this engine for very long. I plan on upgrading to a V-twin in the future anyways, so I just need this motor to last for all the tests, for the belt tests, the pulley tests, basically to get everything all set up. And this basically would just be a mock-up engine. And then whenever I get some extra cash, I'll go out and I'll probably buy another 20 horse Briggs twin, V-twin, or do something along those lines. And if this engine's still in halfway decent shape, I'll probably end up selling this engine, because it's not a bad engine. If I can just get it to run good, it would actually be halfway decent. So here it is. Next time you see this, hopefully it will be in the tractor. Okay, I'm just about ready to put the motor in. I know I said before, next time you see this, the motor will be in. But in one of the rare occasions, I had to actually re-drill the holes for that motor. So, just finished it. Got one here, 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 and here. This one was here was my reference. It was an original. I was originally going to use it, but it put the motor this way a little bit too far. So, like this, the motor is just about centered. It can't go completely centered due to this little lip in the frame right here. And the way it is right now, the motor should just go. So stay tuned. Okay, I basically got the engine in and everything is pretty much finished. As you can see, I actually did a little bit extra work down in here. Hopefully you can see this. I got to use my 12 volt searchlight and my camera, because it's fairly dark out here now. So as you can see, I welded these large washers around each bolt because I had to elongate all the holes. So what I did was I put the engine in, as you can see it right there. I put the engine in, bolted them all down with all the holes, and then what I did was one at a time I pulled the bolts out and I stuck the washers in, and I bolted all the bolts back in as I did that, and it seems to be working okay. If you remember, this engine had 2 broken off bolts in the mounting plate. So those 2 spots I had fixed did fail, but one's holding really well and the other one is so-so. So I'm actually going to be fixing those again, and hopefully they hold again this time. But now what I can do is I can actually take these bolts back out and the washers will stay on there. As you can see, there's a little bit of cutting right there. I had to do that to clearance the part of the frame of the tractor, and then that's whenever the first little piece fell off. So, and I just popped the other one off, and what I'm going to do is stick some JB weld in behind them, because I still got the 2 little pieces I used from the putty, and then I'll just re-JB weld them on. So actually, just looking at this tractor again, this thing's actually should be fairly easy to lower, just by the way the frame is set up on it. And the hood should fit. Actually, I have tested the hood once. I may have to raise the front of it by a couple inches. I don't know yet how much it has to go up. You might be saying, oh, it's a racer, you're lowering it. But yeah, I am. But what I'm going to do is just have it raised up for the opposed. And whenever I do eventually upgrade the engine to a V-twin, V-twins are lower and it'll sit back down normal. I'll just take the little blocks back out. So no big deal. It's the engine I got, so it's the engine I want to use. So there's one minor casualty, that little wire right there. When I was drilling, it got caught, the drill bit, I didn't realize got caught on there. I didn't look, and yeah. And I measured it and I double checked it. The engine is actually pretty close to dead center. It's off by half an inch. to be in dead center, so it's actually pretty damn good. As you can see, the crankshaft's off quite a bit down here because the old engine was off-centered. So I figure as close to center as I can get it is probably the best, especially for weight transfer. And with these new bolt holes and with the washers, whatever engine I do decide to put back in here down the road will work perfectly fine. And whenever I do go back to paint this, this is going generally, and the other tractor I've decided is actually going to go camo. And anyways, I'll weld all those from the top side as well, and then if I have to, I'll just re-drill out the holes. But other than that, I am done for the night. Could be after 8, I'm not 100% sure, I don't have my phone on me. So yeah, so this is all done down in here. It's pretty good. There's one more thing I'm going to actually do. I'm going to put oil in this engine and just crank the engine over a little bit. The engine's been upside down, it's been on its side. I have turned it over to obviously do the compression test, but I don't know how much oil's in this engine, and I think it'd be just good to put some oil in and let it swish around a bit. So I'm going to do that right before I go in. Obviously I'm not going to fire it, there's no exhaust on it. Also, there's still no carburetor on it. Possibly Monday I'll get to that. I'm busy tomorrow, I'm going away. So yeah, so I guess I'll talk to everyone later. Please keep it redneck like always, and please subscribe and comment. And if anyone has any tips, please leave them in the comment section below.